You're a silver investor, and I have good news for you today, right now, from Reuters, from London, from the Silver Institute, and a guy named Newman. We got a great report just this week regarding demand for silver. We're going to cover it in this video, and it is great news. Thanks for being here. Let's go right now. So did you see this report? Did you read this article from Reuters? Headline, Silver heads for biggest deficit in decades. The Silver Institute says, let me read you a couple of the key points from this article. We already know, right? We're silver people. We know the fundamental thesis behind silver, but this is from Reuters and from London. Here's just a few of the things that they said. They said global demand for silver is expected to rise by 16%, not 15%, 16% this year to 1.21 billion ounces, not 1.2, 1.21. I'll stop doing that funny thing with the numbers. That will create the biggest deficit in decades. I mean, it just keeps getting better and better. And trust me, it even gets better and better and better. And then there's a couple things we need to consider in the broad context, but this just continues to get better and better for you, silver investor. That's all according to the Silver Institute. The use of silver by industry, jewelry, silverware, bars and coins for retail investors were all forecast to reach record, remember, let that sink in, record levels. Now, this is from the mainstream media, and have you noticed they like to kind of talk bad about silver and gold for that matter, so they start to bring up some caveats, if you will. Automakers are using more silver as the amount of electronics in vehicles increases. But the sector accounts for only 5% of the total demand. Solar panels accounts for 10% of silver demand. Well, guess what? As cars become more and more electric and more solar panels are being made to help charge those electric cars, we know the numbers, we know the story, the demand for silver in those two areas. What do you think? Do you think it's going to continue up? I don't know. I have a notion that it will. And let's get a little business out of the way quickly. Thank you. Yes, you. There's only one you, and you are with me right now in the basement. I'm glad you're here. I want to say hi to Russ, one of my loyal viewers. If you want to be mentioned by the bear, you want the bear to say hi to you, send me an email. My email address is always in the description of the video. Most important, thank you for being here. If you get any value from being here, subscribe, please. Turn on the bell. Give it a thumbs up, whatever. You know the jive. Let's move on to the next point. Demand in India. Reuters talks about demand in India. Now, we've talked about this ad nauseum over the last few weeks. Demand in India almost doubled in 2022 as buyers took advantage of low prices. You can say that again, low prices, to replenish stockpiles drawn down in 2020 and 2021. But this is Reuters, so there's always a but. They had to throw in that exchange-traded funds storing silver for investors shrank. That's like the SLV. That's where all this supply came from, right? From the unicorn fart dust SLV ETF, of which there's great level of skepticism as to how much physical silver they actually hold, but that's a subject for another video, and you're probably already aware of that anyway. But here comes the big bomb. Please make sure you're sitting down. I don't want you to get injured watching a Ron's Basement video. The Silver Institute predicted a deficit of 194 million ounces this year, up from 48 million ounce deficit in 2021. The deficit more than quadrupled. Okay, now keep in mind also They're not talking about this in the article, but you and I know this because we've talked about it quite a bit. The actual mine output, mine production for the last 5 years, well, from 2016 to 2021, it actually decreased by 10%. So we have a quadrupling deficit in silver where the demand is so much higher than the supply and the supply is shrinking. Think about that. Let that sink in. You don't have to be an economic guru to understand that the price has got to go up. But now we got to talk about Newman. Philip Newman. He's from the Consultants Metals Focus. They prepare the Silver Institute numbers. He's telling us that demand from India next year will probably slow down. He says, quote unquote, India's restocking is likely to trip over into 2023, bleed over into 2023. He then says, but at some point will dissipate. By extension, you could see some decent figures into 2023, but it may not match 2022. Well, we'll see about that, Newman. We're starting to like old Newman a little bit more now because he also said that he expected strong demand from industries such as solar panel and automakers and more silver supply deficits in the coming years, but not as large as 2022. Why'd you have to throw that in there, Newman? And we're going to see about that because, for instance, all my friends in India, and I have a lot of watchers in India, they love their silver and they're very smart. So you know what? Maybe demand from India will actually increase. Maybe demand from the other Eastern countries will continue to increase because they're smart. They know the spot price of silver has been artificially manipulated down for years, and they're going to buy up all the physical that they can before the price skyrockets. My Lord, just when we thought we were done dealing with Newman, he had to open his mouth again. This is what he said. He said, the vaults at the COMEX and the LBMA have fallen by around 370 million ounces this year, 25%. But Newman said there was plenty of silver left. You do have still sizable stocks, he said. I don't think it's a concern. Well, I argue that with you, Newman, and I think all the people on the Reddit, Wall Street Silver, and all the other people who follow the silver market will say it is a concern because the stock levels in the vaults at the COMEX and the LBMA continue to go down, down, down. What do you think about all this? To me, I see demand for silver at near record highs. I see the supply of silver not being able to keep up with the demand. The deficit is at near record highs. I think it's good news, but I'd be curious what you think. Nonetheless, we just love our silver. I always have for over 20 years. I love my family more. I'm sure you do too, but we are passionate about silver. You're always welcome to join me here in Ron's Basement. We talk silver. We have camaraderie. Yeah, it's just me and you right now in the basement, but we are part of a much larger group, right? You've got the Reddit Wall Street Silver people, many, many large communities of silver lovers, precious metal lovers. We're glad you're here. I'm glad you're here with me right now in the basement. It's my honor. And until next time, you, yes, you be well.